All right, good morning and welcome to this edition of Empowering Women. My name is Pia McAdams. I'm an author. I'm also an accounting professor and a certified life coach. I specialize in personal and small business finance and also fitness. I help people reach their goals. In this Empowering Women series, this is actually a series where a forum that I developed that's going to allow women to come together and for us to share like our triumphs, our goals, our failures, our successes, and just our experiences in the hopes of saying that we are not alone. So it is my pleasure today to introduce Tammy Uyeda, and the title of this broadcast is called "Are You Fooling Yourself by Burning the Candles at Both Ends?" Now I met Tammy. It was about three or 4 years ago. About 3 years ago, I met her here in Southern California. Now you should know that Tammy is actually in the British Columbia. So I met her here in Southern California at a convention, or I should say a workshop that we were attending. It was given by Shalene Johnson. It was the Marketing Impact Academy. And, we had a lot in common as far as like the fitness, and she's going to tell you about her credentials and everything. But it was just a pleasure to meet her. And she at the time I remember she was in the process of developing her app. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on as well. So I kind of been following her, and I remember when she released her app and just been very supportive. We've just been, pretty much keeping in contact with each other on social media. So I was so pleased when Tammy agreed to actually come on as Empowering Women and share her story with us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Tammy.
Hi, Pia.
Hi, Tammy, you're on.
Hello. And nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. So Tammy, first of all, tell us about your credentials, because I think it's very impressive.
Well, by trade, I'm a physical therapist, and so I'm a practicing physical therapist in Canada. And also I have been a fitness instructor, certified fitness instructor for, I want to say 18 years now coming up on, basically paralleling my fitness career, my physical therapy career. And earlier on, I was a personal trainer, but I really grew to love kind of the group fitness and really focused more on that in my later years of being involved in the fitness industry. But yeah, most recently, as you mentioned, the last 2 years ago, I launched my fitness app called FitSpark to the Google Play and iTunes app stores. And that's been a big part of my focus since, that whole project was launched.
Okay. And then tell us about your family.
So I'm a mom of 3 awesome kids. My kids range from 9 years old to 14 years old. So I'm kind of out of the life support stage and now into chauffeur mom mode and support mode and that kind of thing. I have a wonderful husband who's been absolutely amazing at supporting any endeavor that I've been up to in the last 3 years on my own as a new entrepreneur, and has been an awesome support in family and being there for me and for our kids as I kind of go through all these new changes in my life in the last few years. So very thankful.
Now tell me, how long have you been married?
Been married now for 19 years. 19 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Anniversary.
Congratulations. So you guys actually waited a while before you had your first child.
We did. We waited 5 years, and my in-laws were threatening to move back to Italy if we didn't soon have kids. So we thought we better get on that train and prevent them from moving back. Have no, stay around.
Okay. Now let me ask you, because I want to kind of segue into your story. So when you first got married and then you guys decided to have a family, was it your intention to, because you were working at the time, right? You were
full-time plus, actually. I was working at full-time with a clinic doing occupational rehabilitation and functional fitness. So returning injured workers to work and helping me with that. As well as working at a private practice clinic a couple evenings a week doing hands-on physical therapy. So yeah, very, very physical therapy focused and looking at really building my skills and my experience in that realm before I had kids, for sure.
Okay. And so when you had your child, was that your intention to, go back to your full-time employment, or go ahead and tell us your story?
Yeah, no, pretty much once I had children, I knew that physical therapy has lent itself beautifully to being able to mold itself to my lifestyle. So I'm lucky enough that I've been able to, make the hours that I want that fits best with my family. So I did not go back to full-time work once I had my children. Once I had my first, I basically went to 3 days a week as my return. And with my second and third children, I basically went down to 2.5 days a week. And on top of that, then, as I went through the years with that company, started to get more in the way of promotions into the management realm. So I was bridging both management and on-floor clinical practice. And that stage about 4 years ago was pretty much the high point of my stress levels with respect to trying to manage work, which was a lot of overtime hours, late nights, management responsibilities kind of caught between, the clinical level and the administrative level. So that was 4 years ago when things got to the point where I realized I needed to make some changes, and I really was starting to search hard into what what would best fulfill myself, but also fulfill my needs as a family that were growing and getting all the rest of it. Yeah, it was a challenging time for sure.
Right, right. Sounds like it. So at that time, was this still just a part-time job, and it was still encroaching on your stress levels and everything like that, or were you working full-time at that point?
Technically, it was 3 days a week. I'd gone to 3 days a week, but in the management level, I was working full-time plus hours. So even when I wasn't at the clinic, I would be working from home or up late hours and that kind of thing. And the job of a manager never really leaves you when you walk out the door. So those, phone calls at home or that type of thing would happen on days off. So it was at a point where, I just basically turned 40, and I've always been into fitness. I've been an athlete since I was a young kid. And at that point, I started noticing kind of health issues starting to pop up. And to the point where I very vividly remember standing in the kitchen one day and just feeling my heart just going crazy. And I thought, I understand what's going on with my body. I'm having almost like an anxiety or a panic attack or something along those lines. And I thought, there's no way me as a fit 40-year-old female who's never had an injury or never really been sick in my life should be having this kind of reaction in my body. And it was one of my first of two big wake-up calls that really scared me. First of all, it was really frightening to feel that I thought that I was handling it well. I thought that I was doing my work and being able to handle kids and the family, and that I was covering my bases. I'd have my fingers in all the different holes, and I thought I was covering it. But
Superwoman.
Oh yeah, I was I thought. It was at that point that I really got scared and thought, okay, there's no reason for me to be having this kind of issue with my heart. And there's no history of heart disease in my family, or at least at that point there hadn't been. And so it was a big wake-up call. That was my first of two big wake-up calls that said, you need to really look at what you're doing because you're suffering. And this is one wake-up call that you need to listen to.
Right, so let's take us back to a little bit more detail with that, because I want people to understand this, because it may be happening to them and they don't understand what's going on. So at this time in your life, you were doing the work, you're doing stress, and you just like one day in the morning, you're in the kitchen, all of a sudden your heart, like you just noticed it, or was your heart really already beating? Like what was the scenario surrounding that?
That year in particular was very stressful. There was a transition at the workplace where one company bought the company that I was working out for. And again, I was promoted into the management levels and was acting as the go-between between the clinical level and that new management and new company. So a lot of stress and pressure, a lot of overtime, not a lot of sleep, still trying to hold the family together with my husband's health. And I would find myself at work holding my breath. And, I'd I have to consciously think, breathe, okay, exhale. And so I would notice little funny things like that. Or again, I very vividly remember one day, it was probably about a 15-hour workday, and I got to the office early in the morning, maybe 7:30 in the morning, and 15 hours later I realized I didn't have lunch. I hadn't sat down long enough to eat lunch, had a break, didn't really have much in the way to drink that day, and I could hear myself speaking to my colleague, almost kind of slurring, and he's looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And that was again another health point that made me go, "Okay, there's something very wrong with what I'm doing to my body," and I have the ability, I know, to push myself, and
right.
I had to really look at both of those incidents there and kind of go, physically, you're doing yourself harm, and this is something that you can't ignore. And it was, again, that was, it was something that I really had to realize you're doing yourself harm. And so at that point, I started to kind of think, okay, this is not good for you. What do you need to do with respect to work? At that point, I still hadn't thought about leaving, although thought crossed my mind regularly that I needed to change. I hadn't thought about changing up that position specifically.
Right.
It wasn't until I really had a second wake-up call with my son that I decided that I really put that thought in motion of leaving that position.
Okay. Now, when that happened to you, did you initially go to the doctor, or are you so in tune with your body that you knew what was going on, so there was really no need for you to go see it?
I, as a physical therapist, we understand a lot about the body, and I knew I was under a lot of stress. I knew the kind of pressure at that point that I had put myself in. I wasn't sleeping very well. I knew that I was pushing my limits. And so when I felt that happen, it was a sudden, I knew what was happening. And so, through that, again, I would still have to make myself breathe. And in fact, in my bathroom, I ended up, it was coincidental, but I had bought a painting that said breathe on it. So every time I'd be in the bathroom, I'm like, okay, breathe. That was at that point I started meditating regularly, so that was probably one of the main things that got me to be able to sleep properly and make clarification in my head. So that was one of my first kind of forays into the meditation world. But no, I knew what was going on, and I just had to figure out how I was going to manage the work end of things to be able to stop.
Okay.
And that's when I had a second incident with my son that really made me wake up.
Now, what's about that one? I'm anxious to hear about that one with your son.
So this was probably near the end of that first year after that new company had bought the company out. And again, I've been doing a lot of overtime hours. Traditionally, in the past, my work schedule had been your typical 8 to 4, 4:30 type of job. But at that point there, I would regularly run late, 6:30, 7 o'clock, that type of thing. And one day, I told my sons or my husband that, yeah, I'll be home for dinner at 5 o'clock. I'll be there, no problem. Well, I walked in at 6 o'clock, even though I called and let my husband know. He was great about it. He got dinner going and was there and get the kids up bed and all. But I walked in the door after that really long day of work, and my then 5-year-old son they were all sitting at the table. They had just sat down to eat. And my then 5-year-old son turned and looked at me and he goes, "You're late again, Mom," and just basically turned back the table and went back to eating. And, it wasn't like he wasn't being accusatory in any way. He was just being fact. And the fact that I knew my 5-year-old son was noticing that I was, late again, and that again, it really struck a chord that, I'm not going to get these years back with my kids. I'm missing a lot. I'm risking my trust, their trust in me as someone who can be dependable and reliable. And I wasn't setting a good example for my kids. It wasn't okay for me to do that and to miss a family meal, because we're very strict about ensuring that we have meals together pretty much every day of the week. So it was me who was messing up that, my parameters of what it took to have a good family. And it was at that point I said, this needs to stop. I need to get out of this position. I need to make some choices, big choices that will shake it up. And at that point, I'd been with that company for 16 years, and it's really what I'd known, and I gained somewhat of a reputation in the community for that type of work. So it was a tough decision to make, to say I need to let this go. But I knew at that point instantly that I couldn't carry on, and I needed to make a big change. So 2 months later, that's when I decided to leave. I quit my position, and it was very interesting because up until then, I was still having some of the heart flutters happening. I would still hear myself breathing, or wasn't sleeping regularly through the night, or having difficulty getting to sleep sometimes. But the day I basically told the management that I would be leaving on the Monday, and gave them my letter of notice, and basically gave them 4 months for them to be able to find out.
Oh, okay.
Long. It wasn't imminently happening, but they asked that I not let anyone at the clinic know at that point, just so they could get their ducks in a row. So I was the only one in my family. My whole family was the only one that knew what was happening in addition to administration. But it was very interesting. At that point, Monday, I let them know. By Friday, I looked back at the week and realized, even though no one knew, no circumstances had changed, what I realized was that all my heart stuff stopped. I hadn't had a single flutter that week. I had slept like a baby every single night that week. Stress levels had just dropped. For me to make that decision, it was only this conscious decision in declaring it to those that mattered that I had relieved myself of that stress. I didn't own that anymore. And despite the fact that things were still functioning at the clinic, I was still working long hours, I was still doing what I had to do to hold things together. This part of it had not changed. But the stress and the symptoms that related to the stress dropped immediately. And I didn't realize that through the week until I looked back on the week on a Friday going, I haven't had a single heart flutter all week, or I haven't had to breathe all week. And it was very interesting for me to see those physical symptoms coming from just a single action that, and work-wise had not changed in volume or stress levels or anything that way. Just that decision that I was going on a different pathway suddenly changed my well-being. I was on a better path to well-being.
Wow. Now let me ask you this now, because when you decide to make that change, obviously this is something that's going to affect your whole family. So what was your initial response from your husband? Because remember, you were working part-time, so that's income coming in. And it wasn't like you were working full-time going to part-time. You were working part-time, and then you were going to just be quitting. So what was that like when you kind of spoke with your husband about that?
Because even though technically I was labeled as a part-time person, I was working more than full-time hours. So I was.
Well, that's why I said part-time.
Yeah, so I was billing full-time hours. So I had a decent income coming in, and
Right.
I knew that would be missed. And we had a lifestyle where really we didn't have to, between my husband's business and my contract work with that company, money was something that I never took for granted, but was something that really I never had to really worry about. We had a very comfortable life, and like, not extravagant, but never uncomfortable. Never had to really think about what we were doing. But
Right.
we both sat down and said, he said, I totally support you leaving. Do what you need to do, because this is not going to be an issue. We'll make this work one way or the other. And I knew that I would just need to make a certain amount in order to be able to be comfortable and be able to, have the necessities without feeling it. So honestly, our lifestyle hasn't really significantly changed. Our children really haven't noticed that much in the way of difference, I don't think, in that transition time. But from my end, I'm a lot more conscious about where we're putting our money, and just having to be a little bit more conscious about that. So that's something that motivates me still to continue to drive to make up that difference, because I still haven't got there. But he asked me, probably about 2 years after I left that position now. He asked me a few months ago, do you regret leaving? Or do you wish you'd stayed? And we were talking in the context of money, and I said, I wouldn't go back for double that money. I wouldn't go back to that situation for double the money. And we're completely happy with where we're at now. And I just see more opportunity. That's, I think, for me, I got into a position where I didn't have a lot of hope. I didn't have a lot of anything of me. My efforts and my hard work, I didn't feel were resulting in something positive at that point in time. I was just a stopgap. I was the one kind of putting my fingers in all the holes, so to speak. Whereas now I feel like my efforts will be the fruits of my labor will come of my efforts, right? So now I have more control in my own destiny, my own successes and failures, and that does come with a certain level of responsibility and weight. So then now as an entrepreneur, you know that your results will come solely from your efforts and your pointed, focused efforts, right? So the first year of being an entrepreneur was very interesting, because you're just trying to figure out everything. You really just don't know what you're doing. You just feel like, I just need to do everything, because everyone tells me I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. And I have A kind of down pat.
Let me ask this now. Now, when you just quit your job, did you immediately know you were going to become an entrepreneur? Like, you already have emotion, or like, how did that work? You decided, oh wait, I'm going to do this, entrepreneurship shit.
So when I left my job, I had already basically decided to start working on my app. I had done personal training and group fitness training for 10 years previous to that, almost 15 years previous to that. And after I had my third kid, my son, I had kind of got out of the groove of fitness at that point there. I kind of neglected myself for a couple of years. And it was then that I then discovered, when I realized I need to do something about this. This isn't me again. I discovered high intensity interval training and working out at home. And I'd always been a very strong gym person. I'd been to the gym 5-6 days a week back in the day, and that was my jam.
Right.
After my third, I had the excuse that I just couldn't get to the gym. I didn't have time for the gym. So my then excuse was I can't work out. That's all working out was for me, was the gym. So once I discovered high intensity interval training and home workouts, and saw the results that I was getting so quickly, really for 2 years, I used that to get myself back into fitness and feeling better about myself. And that also really buoyed me in those stressful times. I could get a workout in and just relieve that stress. I kept saying through those years, going, someone needs to develop an app that could do this. And yes, there were workout apps at the time, but a lot of them were still 1 hour, 45-minute long workouts, that kind of thing. And I said, you know what, as a busy mom, I want an app that would be useful for someone like me, where I just have maybe 7 minutes while the kids are in the bath, or 15 minutes while my kids are doing homework, where I would go online and scroll through YouTube and lose that 7 to 20 minutes scrolling YouTube and still not have a workout done. So I said, I just want an app where you can just turn it on. It'll give me a workout. It's got a system to it that will work through the body over time. And in the end, I said, you know what? I should maybe just develop this app. And that's where the idea for my app came about. And so at that point, when I decided to leave my job, that was my sole focus, was to develop the app, get it launched. And once it was launched, at that point there, I returned to physical therapy, clinical work, but at a different clinic and a slightly different focus.
Okay. Now let me ask you this because, as an entrepreneur, I know a lot of times we spend more time, more hours, more energy with our own stuff than we actually did working with someone else. Did you find that with yourself as well when you were developing this app?
Yeah,
So it's like you're kind of trading one from another, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. You know what? I did, and I have to be truthful. In that first year, I kind of look back at the end of that. You're going, I got out of work so that I could spend more time with family and be more present. But I kind of was a little bit disappointed in myself, saying, you know what? You said you want to be more mindful and present with your children, your family in this year, and you really haven't done that. That I had to give myself a little grace, saying, well, you need to do something in order to get your business up and going and to be able to get to that next level. So I kind of have written that year off as my year of learning, first of all, and also being able to set the foundation for now being able to jump off from that, right? So it was a commitment. My kids, I've really tried to have involved in kind of behind the scenes, so they have a little bit of ownership. For example, my youngest, who's now 9, he was 6 at the time when I developed the app or was going through that development. He actually contributed to the development of the actual form, the female form. We were having difficulties because there's a human graph in the app that lights up different body parts depending on which parts you've worked out for the workout. And so at that point, the developers wanted to put clothes on a person. But I said, well, we were trying to highlight certain muscle areas. You have clothes on it. It really defeats that purpose. And I said, as a physical therapist, I'm okay with just having a body shape that looks kind of naked, so to speak, without the obvious features and all. But they said, oh, that might not go well with some people. So we were talking about this one day with my husband, and my youngest son at 6 said, well, why don't you just put see-through clothes on? And so, it was like, that would be great. So, I have workout shorts and top that, just a jog bra and boy shorts that are see-through. So, things like that, where we really tried to incorporate my sons and whatnot into the process so they could feel involved and not just a bystander of it. But it was a big time commitment, and it still is something that, honestly, I do have to be very mindful about, and I try very hard to do work when they're at school, and have really been trying to be more mindful about not doing work when they're not, so I can get that time for them. Because that's the main reason why I got into this, is to be able to give that time to them. And my oldest now is in grade 9, going into grade 9 next year. And
high school. Is that high school where you are?
Yeah. And my youngest is only in grade 3, and so I see the years passing very quickly, and they still, thankfully, don't think I'm not cool yet, so they're willing to hang out with me. And so I'm holding on to every moment I can, and realize how lucky I am that I have this opportunity to be able to spend with them, and don't want to blow it. So it's a constant daily reminder that, look, don't blow this. You need to be present for your kids. And
now let me ask you, because it was your 5-year-old son that actually gave you your aha moment. Since you quit your job, did they make any reference to that? Like, oh, now, like, did they actually acknowledge that, did they, I know they could tell the difference, but did they actually tell you that they could tell the difference?
They haven't articulated it that way, but when I asked them, and it was interesting, one of my sons, my 12-year-old, was lamenting the fact that we don't have a pool, and that, he would like a house that had a pool, because most of his best friends all have pools. And I said, you know what? We've made choices that we're very comfortable with how we are right now. But, if we wanted to buy a house with a pool or have a pool installed, that would mean Mommy would have to go back to doing work or increase my hours of work to be able to make the money in order to be able to do that. And would that be okay with you guys? Or would you rather have it as it is, and me being able to come to school, pick you up from school, drop you off from school? And he's like, yeah, no, we're good. So very definitive about the fact that it was not worthwhile for me to go back to that kind of lifestyle, and for the sake of a pool or a bigger house and whatnot. I mean, if that comes as a result of me doing what I'm doing now, wonderful. That would be ideal. But for now,
right.
Himself very certainly said, no, don't go back there. We're good. So that was really affirming.
So now
very affirming for me.
Now, what prompted you to go back to, it was a new company, what prompted you to go back into, that type of arena where, the work industry?
You know what, I just love working with people one-on-one, and physical therapy is something that, I feel very privileged to be able to help people and be able to use my knowledge and experience to help them get over their pain or return to the lifestyle that they want to live. And I really missed that in that year off, even though I was excited to be working on my app. The app was for people to, feel better about themselves and get more fit. I still really did miss working one-on-one. And there was never my intention to leave physical therapy altogether. I knew that I would be going back to practice, but I knew that I did not want to go into the management end of things. I wanted to be one-on-one with people, and it's worked so well in that I have my own thing now, but the clinic that I'm working with has bent over backwards to say, look, tell me what hours you want to work. We'll make it work if you know, whatever your schedule. And have just been wonderful about accommodating that with that. And really, I have a clientele. I chose a clinic that the clientele is very sport oriented, is very motivated clientele, post-op kind of orthopedic stuff, sport related injuries. That is kind of my jam, and is related again to my fitness a lot, my passion for fitness.
Right.
So I can blend the two worlds of fitness and physio together really well at that clinic and with my clients, and I see them making great progress with that. So it's been something that's been kind of, I feel like it's a great fit, and I feel very fulfilled doing my own thing. But every time I leave the clinic, I just feel like I've had a great day, and I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Okay. All right. So before we log off, tell us a little bit more about your app, because I know you talked about the high intensity interval training, but can you tell us like exactly, tell us more about it so we can, get information on it.
So FitSpark is pretty much the app that I wanted to have when I was searching for a quick workout. So FitSpark will generate workouts for you in a very systematized manner. So the algorithm that I designed will build workouts for you, original workout each time you log into the app, based on how much time you have available to yourself that day. So whether it's 7 to 20 minutes, so 7, 10, 15, or 20 minutes, you can select how long you want your workout to be. You also select what fitness level you're at, whether it's beginner, advanced, or elite level. And the app will then create workouts for you based on those two factors primarily. Give you a high intensity interval training workout where you can preview that workout to start with. And if you're not sure which each of the exercises are, you can poke it, and it'll give you the verbal and the video explanation of how to do that exercise before you start your workout. And once you get into the workout, video will lead you through the workout. It's me, and I didn't actually mean to be in the app when I started out developing it. I totally meant to hire like a fitness model and have a professional voiceover, but smartly, my developers said, at Tammy Uyeda Fitness, you have done videos in your marketing for the lead up to this app. Why don't you just be in the app and, be that bridge between the moms or the busy parent or the working woman or the working parent, and let them see you doing what you actually do. And kudos to them for highlighting that for me. And so yeah, I've had to get past my fear of being in front of the camera. Being Japanese, I'm behind the camera. Now I'm totally used to being in front of the camera, and I'm grateful that they suggested that. So yeah, so basically then I will lead you through a 7 to 20 minute workout. There's a progress bar that shows you how far you're going into the workout, a countdown timer and a dinger, so you don't have to have a stopwatch to do your interval training. It takes care of all that for you. At the end of each workout, it then has a human graph, like I was talking about before, that will light up showing you which body parts you've just exercised. So there's a color scale from red to being this muscle maybe wasn't really used that much in a workout to green, where we worked a lot on this muscle. So that will show you what areas you've worked on, and you can share that to social media to kind of show off the fact that you've done a great job. Then it'll take you back to the dashboard, where it'll take that information and overlay that on a second human graph that shows you your progress over time. So if you're consistently working out, that human graph will go from red to more green, depending on what body parts you've been working out. So what I really wanted to do was, so many people say, oh, I just want to work abs when I work out, or I just want to do legs, or I just want to do shoulders. And
spot training.
And again, you kind of focus on one body part, but the way I designed the algorithm is that it breaks the body down into 5 different muscle group areas. And as you use the app as it's supposed to be used, it will guide you through each of those 5 regularly, so that over time you'll be balanced and have a balanced workout for your body to do. So if you don't work out, and you miss more than 2 workout days in a row, then that colored graph on the dashboard will start to regress back towards red. So the longer you don't work out and the longer you don't feed that, the more it'll start to regress back to red. So visually you can kind of get that accountability. Yeah.
Now, if there's a special, let's say there's a workout that you really like, can you select the workout? So I know you said it automatically does it for you, but can you select the workout that you like if it's like your favorite?
Right now, we don't have that ability. That's been something that has been requested. So when we're looking at possibly doing updates to the algorithm, that may be something. But what we really focused on in the initial development of the app was, how do we keep this simple for the everyday user to be able to just get in, get their workout done, and be able to, again, do a balanced workout over time. And our initial fears on that is, if we had certain workouts saved, we would just keep going back to those workouts. And The other thing we really wanted to keep in mind is that we wanted to keep the app very light on the phone. Certain workout apps are quite heavy, especially when there's video and audio involved. And so I know prior to that, I'd had a few workout apps on my phone, and I had to delete them because they were taking up so much space on my phone and memory on my phone. So the way we've designed FitSpark is very light. So extra things like that, we've not included in the initial run, just because those were things that we thought, okay, what is the intent of the app? And that is to get a quick, fast workout versus maybe having a few of those extra features that we might now, with increase, and over the last 3 years, the size of the phone's memory has gotten bigger. So we have that a little bit more than we did previously with, say, the iPhone 4, which is when we initially developed the app. So those are things that we definitely will consider for future versions.
Okay. And I have it on the screen, so if you want to, now is there trials or free trial on your app?
Not right now. We do, I do, if you go to my Instagram page, it's called, back when I started Instagram 5 years ago, I thought it was a photo filter app. I didn't realize it was actually a video and photo sharing. So my Instagram handle doesn't match FitSpark at that point, which didn't exist. So my Instagram handle is @tinkam, TINKAM. And so on that Instagram page, I share sample workouts. So I have done videos in various places around my city to give sample workouts that you can try for free and that are very similar to those that are in the app.
Okay. All right. So again, if you want to look on her Instagram, it's @tinkam. And if you want to actually get the app, you can find it on iTunes and also from the Apple Store. And it's called FitSpark. Now, what if people want to get in contact with you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
Probably the quickest and easiest way would be through my FitSpark Facebook page. So if you go to FitSpark or facebook.com/FitSpark and message me there, that's a quick and easy way. Or via my TinCam Instagram account. Either of those two ways would probably be the most direct way to get a hold of me.
Okay. All right, perfect. Was there anything else you want to say to the audience, Tammy, before we wrap it up?
You know, what really stood out when I look back over time was just the power of that one decision, one action of declaring my decision to leave, and how powerful that was in suddenly and immediately making physical changes to my body. So if you know you're having health issues, or if you know you're struggling, and I think it's just really interesting to see that a single decision can have so much power over improving your health. So, really, if you're in a position where you're struggling health-wise, it may not necessarily be completely what you're eating or completely, physical factors that are contributing. Really look at mentally where you're at and start making choices that will improve your well-being from the inside out.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I totally agree with you. All right. So thank you again, guys, for watching this episode of Empowering Women. Again, this is great information that Tammy shared, particularly for those of us, because we all, we somehow just kind of put ourselves into that superwoman position where we think that we have to do every single thing, and we're burning the candle at both ends, and it's going to have a negative effect on your health. And the good thing that I love that Tammy acknowledged and shared with us, you really have to know your body. Like for her, she knew when she started having those heart palpitations in there, she knew what was going on. For you, you may be so distracted and so busy that you have these stresses going on and these indicators that you've reached your limit, ignoring them, and so that's when your body has to pretty much jolt at you and say, look, listen to me. And the first thing that we do is we go to the doctor, and I keep stressing that doctors, again, I'm not saying, but you are going to be the best person to know your body. Introspective, and Tammy used meditation, which is one of the best forms. Well, you learn more about yourself, learn more about your body. You know what your days are like. You know what the things that are stressing you. And just by making that one decision, she noticed that whole week, all she did was made a decision. And at the end of that 1 week, she noticed no anxiety level had been reduced. Decision. You may want to ask yourself, what is the decision that you need to make in order to further to help yourself and then your health. About doing everything you so that you are around for your family.
Like
right. So again, I want to thank you for saying it.
On that mask first for you, so that you can look after your family. And for me, I went too long without putting that face mask on myself. And so I think women, particularly more than men, are guilty of that. And If you're really struggling, whether it be your temper short or you're fatigued or you're having physical symptoms like I was, what can you do to put that proverbial face mask on so that you can be there to help others? You can't help others if you're not looking after yourself. And that was a very big lesson for me to learn in a tough way.
Because guess what? Your body is not going to quit. It's not going to give up. It really isn't for you. Okay, so for, like Tammy mentioned, concern, it could be the other things, like overstressing yourself, long hours, not getting enough sleep, and not eating. Because in your case, 15 hours and notice that you haven't eaten. And I know I've dealt with a lot of clients too that said, I just you have to make time for yourself. Okay, if you don't learn that you are important. As important, no one else is going to. Okay, so it's up to you to do that. And I love it. I mentioned before about the mask. So give yourself oxygen so that you can then give. Can't give what you don't have. All right. So again, thank you for watching this episode. And my next episode will be on Thursday. So for another Empowering Women series. And see you then. Bye.